Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield 5 minutes to Mr. Westmoreland, the gentleman from Georgia.
Gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 5 minutes.
I'd like to thank my colleague for yielding. Mr. Speaker, if this undemocratic smoke and mirrors Congress had been in power throughout our nation's history, I'm not sure we'd have much to celebrate this weekend when we commemorate President's Day. On Monday, we honor the presidents who guide our nation through its toughest moments, presidents who made tough decisions in the face of public skepticism, despite great peril and unimaginable sacrifice. Not all Americans supported General George Washington's campaign against the British, yet our nation's father led a ragtag band of underfed and underequipped soldiers to victory over the greatest military of its day. Not all Americans supported President Lincoln's decision to go to war to preserve the Union. It seems inevitable today, but at the time many Americans would have preferred to save the lives, treasure, and misery and just let the nation cleave into two. But Lincoln decided to preserve the Union, a Union that in time would become the greatest, most powerful nation on earth. And even though he had to wage the deadliest war in U.S. history with 600,000 lives lost, I wonder what the forebears of today's Democratic Party would think of their policy of retreat and defeat. What would they think of the timidity in the face of great danger? What happened to the legacy of Woodrow Wilson, who faced down American skeptics to lead us to victory in World War I? What happened to the legacy of FDR, who faced down American isolationists to defeat the evils of German fascism and the militarism of Imperial Japan? What happened to the legacy of Harry Truman, the first president to realize the peril of the Soviets and entered our war-weary nation into the fight against the spread of communism? The wisdom of their decisions wasn't necessarily clear to all Americans of their day, but the judgment of history validates their leadership. Today, our Commander-in-Chief sees the danger to our nation's security and freedom posed by Islamic extremist forces in the Middle East. Many in this Congress choose to believe that the violence in Iraq is a local problem. To some degree it is, but it is also a problem for the United States. If we were to follow the proposals of the Democratic leaders, we would pull out our troops and let Iraq become a failed state. Mr. Speaker, I don't believe the House is in order.
The gentleman may proceed.
If we were to follow proposals of Democratic leaders, we would pull out our troops and let Iraq become a failed state. Anarchy in Iraq would give al-Qaeda and other extremists a safe haven to train and plot attacks. It was in the failed states of the Sudan and Afghanistan that al-Qaeda was able to plan the African embassy bombings, the attack on the USS Cole, and the September 11th disaster. The smoke and mirrors Democratic Congress wants it both ways. On the one hand, they say this is a non-binding resolution. On the other hand, they say this is a first step. Given how Democratic leaders have battled to one-up each other and have allowed their rhetoric to spiral, how can this non-binding resolution be anything but a first step? How can Democrats stop with a non-binding resolution if they agree with Senator Obama that lives lost in Iraq have been, quote, wasted? This non-binding resolution expresses disapproval of the military plan to strengthen our forces in Iraq and give them the resources they need. By the end of this week, every member of this House will be on the record and answerable to their constituents about whether they are for or against the military plan. My colleagues who vote for this resolution are for one of two things. They are either for retreat and defeat or stay the course. We all agree that changes need to be made. The changes need to take us toward a stable and peaceful Iraq. Withdrawal would take us in the opposite direction. Let's reject this smoke and mirrors resolution and continue to fight, take the fight to the terrorists. And Mr. Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time.